Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Port Washington Common Council meeting for December 17th, 2024. All older persons are present. Please join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, with that, we'll move into the consent agenda. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting and our monthly invoices?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'm going to shift around mayor's business, start at the end there, and then work our way up to the recognition component. So we had posted the opening on the Commission of Aging due to the resignation and moving of Patrick Poole. So Linda had come in for an interview, and I'm recommending her for the Commission on Aging. Linda is a professional who's got background in lean, marketing, and customer service, so she'd be a good fit, and she's an active member at the Senior Center. Is there anyone willing to make a motion for her approval?
I will move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Tierney. Any questions or concerns on that? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that brings us to B from C, appointment of Matthew Nugent as the city attorney. Matthew will be replacing Eric Eberhardt, who is currently serving as the city attorney, but retiring at the end of the year. He is also my recommendation for the position of city attorney from their firm. Any questions on that? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
I will move to approve.
I'll second.
Motioned and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. That brings us to the recognition of years of service for City Attorney Eric Eberhardt. Mr. Eberhardt, we want to thank you on behalf of the City of Port Washington for serving the City of Port Washington since 1999. And we are very, very grateful for those years of service, your commitment to us. And while I was highly encouraged to roast you tonight, because that's your reputation, I will just remind everyone that you are a simple man from Sheboygan, as you usually start out all of your comments. Yeah, all you ever were. Or will be, yeah. Well, here's what I would say. I met Mr. Eberhardt when I was a junior in high school at Port Washington High School, and Miss Stade, my history teacher, asked me to be on the mock trial team. I met two attorneys that night, Mr. Eberhardt and Mr. Pauly, who had volunteered to be coaches for our mock trial team. They had come in and kind of met with a bunch of, nervous teenagers who thought about going into law or going into political science and different pieces like that. And these two gentlemen, earlier on in their career, gave up a tremendous amount of time. And for me, it's just really a recognition of your willingness to serve your community and everybody else. Rick actually coached us to a state championship, the only one in Port Washington High School's history. So we're very grateful for that as well. I don't know if you had anything to do with it, but I'm sure nothing at all. Yeah. Well, but here's the deal. The city of Port Washington has grown significantly in the 25 years of your service here, Rick. You have stood watch. You have advised. You have been conservative in your dealings. You have been a legacy expert for council after council after council, mayor after mayor after mayor, and multiple city administrators over the course of your career. We are grateful for that service to us, guiding us, keeping us up front. And the one thing that I don't know that the community or most people know about you is I think the one word I would use to describe you on behalf of our team is diligent. You don't miss a comma, a colon, a hanging gerund, and nobody even knows what that is. But you look over every contract, you make sure everything is in the best interest of the city of Port Washington, and you've been a constant advocate for us. So for that reason, tonight, we are giving you the key to the city of Port Washington in recognition of your service, your diligence, and your commitment to making sure that Port Washington is always headed in the right direction. Congratulations to Mr. Eberhardt, and thank you on a great career.
Thank you, Mayor.
God.
Party at Schooner. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, hold on. You got to go around the front and.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Here you go.
Party later at Schooner.
You're going to get your picture.
Council, you want to join me there? And then when we're done, if his friends from the firm could come up, we'll do one with you as well.
You want us behind?
Back, or should we all?
Yeah, we can split up and then you guys can step behind us. Okay, and then just two other quick items under mayor's business. First is an apology. The Port Washington Choir was going to join us for the 5th year in a row, but there was a need for the choir conductor to be at the theater tonight because the theater manager left, so he was unable to bring the choir down here. Quote unquote, we owe you one, so I don't know when they can come down. And then the last one is I'm going to pass this to all the members of the council, and if any members of the community are here who want to see it, we've got our a festive season card from our sister city in Germany, in Sassnitz. And of course, the greatest title in the world is the Burgermeister. So the Burgermeister Kraus has sent us a Christmas card. And when you see their lighthouse, I think we should just be very happy for our weather in Wisconsin because it's covered in ice. All right. All right. And then with that, that takes us into officer and staff reports for the month. Department monthly reports. Melissa, I'm going to turn that over to you to highlights and then introduce.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a few updates from the departments. The department head reports have been put out on the Facebook and also on the website. You're going to hear after I'm done speaking from the wastewater and water plant. There is a lot of action going on, so we're going to get some updates on the construction projects there. City Hall is closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, except on New Year's Eve, we're open for tax collection. So if you do need to make it in for that date, someone will be here for that purpose only. Staffing-wise, we have a few positions open and have had great success with getting people applications. We have extended an offer to the staff accountant. And our HR generalist position, we have, I believe, like 26 people already applied. And so filling those positions has been successful. The fire and EMS have filled all of their positions from the referendum that was supported by the community. So that's very exciting to have really good candidates, and we'll be hearing about that in January on the new fire chief and the pinning ceremony for lieutenant. And then the second meeting of January, we'll be hearing from public PFC on their charter and what's going on with police and fire and EMS. So look forward to that in January. Myself and Mark Emanuelson are taking over the HR duties because we did have our HR director did leave last Friday. And then lastly, two things. The holiday lights that have been up and the parade and all of the events were spectacular. My folks were even here and they said Port Washington is a hallmark city, and we're very impressed. And they did a really nice job in the streets of Public Works putting those up. And I thought I'd just share that. And lastly, I just want to thank you, Rick, for the last 9 months that I've been here. You've been very helpful, and there's been a lot of learning, and I appreciate everything you've done for us.
That takes us into an update on the waste treatment plant project, wastewater treatment plant project. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I've got that backwards. Water treatment plant project.
All right, I'm trying to make this quick because I know everybody's not here to find out what's going on in the water treatment plant. So I'm just going to show some slides, and mainly they're going to consist of pictures. Pictures are our best way to explain what's going on down by the plant. First slide is a snapshot of one of our plan sets. To the south is the new addition with a water tank and a couple, the high service pump room and a UV room. Really, I wanted to show to the north is the existing plant is also under considerable amount of construction. You see the word updated quite a bit on this plan. So every room is being impacted and touched, and it's a consistent battle every day to keep operations going for the utility. Next slide is just a little bit bigger of a snapshot of the new addition. Our new tank, our new clear well tank, is going to be approximately 400,000 gallons of finished drinking water. To the north is the new high service pump room. These pumps push water into the distribution system. To the east of that is the new UV room. UV disinfection is a new treatment that we are adding to the way we process our water. It flows through the UV light and then goes into the clear well, where it makes its way into the distribution system. Step one was to get our generator on site and installed. It was successfully started up in September. This was the first piece of the puzzle. Once we got this going, we were able to start excavation on the south side of the property. So the trees had to come down first. We had some utilities in the way that delayed us a few weeks for We Energies to come in and remove some transformers. Once those were complete, topsoil was removed, and ultimately we started digging. When we started digging, we discovered, well, we knew that the original pump house building was there. We just didn't know to the extent. Turns out quite a bit of the foundation was there. So there's a lot of concrete and rubble that the crews had to remove. On top of that, we found 2 underground storage fuel tanks. One we kind of knew was there. The second one was a surprise. So this also set us back a few weeks. But after that, we were able to start with our geopier installation. 160 of the piers were needed to get a good base for our tank. Here's just a little video of the installation. There was sound. So what's basically happening is a machine comes through and there you go. So a machine would come through and pre-drill a hole, and then this setup would come through and actually
I thought you were looking.
install the stone and use compaction to create the foundation. So once those were complete, CD Smith came roaring in and leveled the ground and started the rebar installation for the Clearwell tank floor. Once they completed this, on November 26th, we made our first concrete pour. It was the floor of the Clearwell, and it was a continuous pour. So what that means is from 7 in the morning until 2:30, they poured approximately 550 cubic yards of concrete. So about 61 trucks came rolling through. It was an amazing feat. They did it in the cold weather, but successfully poured the floor. As soon as that was done, they were able to start building the walls, and we're still working on this. This is actually pictures from last week. So the walls of the new tank and the new building are currently being built. Meanwhile, in the inside, we have a bunch going on. A bunch of the rooms work is being done by demolition or electrical conduit being run throughout the building. So this is a kind of before and after shot. Plant 1, so Plant 1 is completely down right now. So we're working off of just Plant 2. A lot of the equipment and pumps and pipes need to be demoed. So you can see the before and after. They're basically removing every pipe and every concrete structure that's in the way to make room for the new layout, the new design. This is just a very large piece of pipe that's being removed from the sub-basement. So there's a lot of work that's being done in a little 5-foot area. Very noisy and very loud. We've had a bathroom completely demoed. My office is being demoed during all of this. And then also with this, we have a painter on site who's working really hard at prepping all of our pipes throughout the building to be painted when possible. So you can see there's before and after, desperately in need of some new paint. Some expenses. So to date, we've paid CD Smith and SEH $750,000. Next year, we expect this to jump drastically with the completion of the tank and then the installation of most of the pumps and equipment. The generator cost was covered by our EDA grant. And then we've just had some small utility costs for the underground storage tanks that we found on sites, some asbestos removal, and some pre-electrical work that we had to do. Looking forward, most of winter is going to be finishing the tank and the structure outside. So you see concrete is on our schedule quite a bit. After the concrete is done, then it's going to be a lot of piping, pipe work, water main work. We have a substantial completion date of June 30th, 2026, and then a final completion date of August 31st, 2026. Hopefully we don't have any crazy setbacks and we can meet that deadline. That's it. Any questions?
I just have a question about the interior. Did you get are the computers, software, that's all updated now? We're not running off of parts that we're buying on
Correct.
Craigslist anymore?
Maybe our copy machine is.
All right, that's good to know. Any other questions or clarifications from council? Awesome. We appreciate these updates. We look
you.
forward to them, continue them. Thank you. And that leads us into the next staff update, the update on the wastewater treatment plant project. Roger.
All right, Dan Beeler couldn't make it, so you're getting the B team here, so. And one thing before Dan leaves, is just so everyone, to acknowledge his effort operational. The building there is 2 plants. Plant 1 is completely down, so we're only operating on Plant 2. So Dan and his crew are basically staying awake at night, making sure systems are operating. So it's there's no belt, no suspenders right now. That's it. That's all we have. Yes, we do have a belt. That's true. We do have backup plans if equipment fails. But so the wastewater plant, it got started last spring, so it's a little bit ahead of the water plant. So roughly 53% of the contract time has elapsed. About 35% is paid out on payment. That's normal for this time because it's a lot of equipment that's being ordered and delivered and processed. So typically payment doesn't occur until it's installed. Sometimes we'll make a concession and pay when it's delivered, but so payment follows completion. So just an overview of the plant. The two circles at the bottom, those are clarifiers. The three rectangulars above that, that's. No. All right. So clarifier, all right, so let me, I'm going in the wrong order. Clarifier is the end process. So you have the three rectangles. There's a small, right here, that building is called the headworks. That's where everything comes in. That's the first process. We get rid of all the grit. We get rid of wood, any large particles, floatables, things like that come out then. Then it comes into these three brown tanks. Those are called aeration basins. Basically, we're adding air, oxygen, keep the bugs alive, feed our bacteria. The bacteria now are chewing up all the organic waste. Then those move into the round tanks, which are the clarifiers. And that's a nice quiet system. The bacteria finish chewing up whatever food is left. And then basically sludge is drawn out of those tanks. And we do get sludge out of the aeration too. They're moved to these round tanks. Actually, so first it goes to these round tanks where we digest it. You see the flare burning off. And then it moves over to here for final delivery and treatment before it gets hauled to the fields. This little green dot, that's the generator for the wastewater plant that was purchased with the same EDA grant as the water. So we have a new grit classifier in the headworks. So grit classifier, again, removes all the inorganic particles that come into the plant, sand, eggshells, things like that. An additional raw wastewater pump has been added or increased. We had a small pump that was in there for just peak flow. We've added this third pump, so now we have three pumps of equal size, so we have a true backup pump. New chemical tanks been installed. That's for ferrous chloride that precipitates phosphorus out of the system. So when we're not adding nutrients to the lake. One thing that this tank is a little bit bigger than the one that we had previously, which is it's kind of one of our struggles right now is getting chemical deliveries, mainly truck driver shortages. So the extra capacity is nice to have. The aeration tanks I showed you, so piping has been installed to deliver the air above the tanks. One of our next projects that we're going to get into with this is to replace the diffusers on the bottom of the tank. Primary digester number 2 has been taken down and painted, so that's where we flare off methane. That's the first solids treatment. And then a sludge storage tank, which is secondary digester. We're putting in some mixing equipment there, so just to give it a little final polish, make it a little nicer when we haul to the fields. So we're anticipating coming up electrical work now. Motor control centers are being delivered. The MCCs that are in there currently are original with the plan from the 1970s, so they're on their last legs. Sludge mixing pumps are being installed, screens, aeration diffusers, new blower. And again, with moving on to the next digesters. So we are pretty much on schedule. So we're anticipating substantial completion by the end of September with, and then take care of punch list items by the end of October. So again, it'll be construction there during fish days. So we've had some changes, so I guess instead of reading through this whole list, I'll just kind of bottom line it. Right now, we have about $200,000 in extra work that's occurred at the plant that we found as we empty out a tank, we see a bad valve that we had no eyes on before. Things like that, equipment that was designed and ordered, and we work with the suppliers during the design process, but when it gets delivered or shipped, when they're at that point, when they actually make it, it's like 6 inches bigger. That results in all of a sudden you're moving a lot of piping and stuff. So the 200,000 is about 1.8% of the project cost. So that's it sounds like a big number, but it's quite comfortable. We are anticipating some credits for sludge storage tank cleaning on the order of about 50 or 60,000. So that we'll be taking a good 1/3 of that 200,000 and basically erasing it with a credit. So, I don't know if you can read this, but just kind of where we're at with our sewer rates. And this is including the anticipated rate increase with the budget. We're essentially below all our neighbors. So, and many of our neighbors, I'm starting to see in the press and then talking to our peers are planning upgrades to their own plants, so. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from council? I heard a job opportunity in there, Rick. Truck driver. Just a thought.
Hey, we need somebody to cut grass in summer even.
You got it.
All right, with that, any other city administrator updates?
I did place a strategic plan update on everyone's table here at the council chamber. I just wanted to just touch on a few of these. We're going to be doing a full strategic plan and staff's recommendation probably February. But I just sort of want to highlight some of the things. When the city did the strategic plan in '22, there were four strategic directions. And one was, pursuing stakeholder alliance through communication. And in the sheet I gave you, it just talks about, we've completed a lot of the communications with our website, with making it searchable if you're looking for words to make our website so that people can find information easier. We're getting stuff on the website and Facebook and trying to make sure the public is aware of everything going on, as well as working on communication with internally and externally with our friends of the senior center, friends of the parks, friends of, I know fire department has a group. And so we're really trying to focus on that and then meeting with other groups. For instance, the bike ped plan, we're trying to involve the community as much as possible, as well as the zoning rewrite that is going on now. So that we've made some really big strides and hired Mandy in that front role, and she's been doing a nice job. Strategic direction 2, creating accountability through policies and procedures, working on our ordinances. We've been working hard on that. We have our employee handbook updated, and elected officials handbook is created and just needs some updates. And then the departments are working on the SOPs for their departments, and that's mid-25 when we'll get to those. And then 3, ranking priorities to identify funding sources. We have adopted the budget philosophy the last 2 years, and I think have been doing a good job of holding ourselves to that. There's always expenses that come up that we're not planning for, but also using a cost of service model, making sure the city isn't taking on too much when doing events, but also being a good partner everywhere we can. And then last strategic, number 4, is catalyzing development to generate revenue. So we've been working on the Shannon Farms. We've been working on our ordinances and trying to be a extra good partner to the developers, and the zoning rewrite is a really good place to work on that as well. So Our next update will be in February after the internal staff meets, and we'll do a proposal and probably a work session in February.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions from council? Okay, that moves us into our next agenda item, which is public comments. Your comments are welcome. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Rob, are you going to give the update on the public safety building?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, just a quick update on the public safety building. I'll just touch on a few items where they've Bray has completed 50% of they're at the 50% level for their construction drawings. We're continuing to work with the DOT on access. They've received their appraisal, and so they are reviewing it and said they will get back to us shortly. So I'm not sure exactly what shortly is, but I'm going to give them a week or two and then contact them again. I'm working with Rick on closing on the purchase of the property. We have a owners. We have a meeting every other week with Bray, and so our next one we're going to be on this Thursday. We're talking about furniture and equipment at the building. So we're still at the $33.5 million for the budget. They are still evaluating the 50% construction documents to update that budget. So hopefully we should know more, maybe even by the end of this week. If not, I don't know if it'll be next week because of the holiday, but they are, working on that. We anticipate this going out for bids still in near the end of January and opening the bids at sometime in February.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And if anyone wants more details, I have more
Okay.
details. There's always more details.
All right, that brings us into public comments and appearances then. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Remember, if you need more time than that, to contact myself or the city administrator. Just a reminder to the public, we cannot engage in your comments or respond. So at this time, if there is anyone willing to make a public comment, please step to the podium, say your name and address for the record.
Pat Morrissey, 120 West Dodge Street in Port. Port's mission statement reads, "The Common Council and Mayor are responsible to the residents of Port Washington, the provision of city services provided to them, and to represent the residents and businesses of the city of Port Washington. Our democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Each of you are responsible for creating policies that benefit our community, making decisions on behalf of the people you represent, managing public resources effectively, and communicating with citizens to address our concerns. This strongly implies that each of you must be transparent with your actions and hold yourselves accountable for any wrongdoings or misconduct." Toward the end of August is when most of us in Port found out through the Ozaki Press that a microchip manufacturer was looking to purchase thousands of acres in the town of Port Washington. On September 12th, again through the Ozaki Press, we found out that non-disclosure agreements were signed by Port officials promising not to publicly discuss details of a possible microchip facility. I'm aware that Wisconsin cities can enter into a non-disclosure agreement, but Wisconsin law has restrictions on the enforceability of NDAs and other restrictive covenants, including the enforcement of restrictive covenants that impose unreasonable restraint. Was Port's NDA a restrictive covenant that posed an unreasonable restraint? Was what all of you did unlawful? How are the citizens who elected each of you supposed to know this? This all seems very contrary to the mission statement. This lack of transparency has led to many questions, speculations, confusion, rumors, and a lack of trust. One of the many questions is, why was Alderman John Sigwart removed from all his committees? Why was this not communicated to his constituents? If John Sigwart was stripped of his committees, then our ward does not have representation for local actions and legislation. I emailed you twice, Mr. Mayor, and heard nothing. These actions seem unlawful and at the very least extremely non-transparent. Your job is to ensure that you are accountable to us and you are in control. And the city's website should communicate truthfully as to what's happening in our city, which it clearly does not. The last post from the mayor is dated September 2023. Really? And why are aldermen not communicating with their constituents? According to Pew Research, only 1 in 5 Americans trust the government. Is this the case in Port Washington? Currently, trust of each of you is quite low right now. So how do you restore public confidence? You could begin by telling us the truth, the whole story about taking committee assignments away from John Sigwart instead of remaining so secretive and not answering emails. You could apologize to his constituents. You could become more transparent and accountable by reconnecting with your constituents through truthful communications and improving your response to the public's concerns. We are at a tipping point with democracy at the federal level. How sad to think this is happening in Port Washington.
Thank you, Pat. Other public comments and appearances?
Christina Lefevre, 1740 West Grand Avenue, Port Washington. I met Pat just this evening outside. She's much more well-prepared than I am. I had some questions. Prior to my moving to Port Washington in 2018, I lived in a small town in Pennsylvania and served 35 years in EMS and fire as a volunteer. What I loved about Port was it made the transition easier. It was like truly coming home. The transition was seamless. Up until recently, even with some of the building improvements that have taken place down at the marina, it seems that council is not taking the residents into consideration, the loss of parking, something so simple but so important to the events that the city wants to hold. And then to hear about this NDA that was signed, why is an NDA needed? Is it needed for fact-finding? Is the council planning on, at the end of a fact-finding under the NDA, presenting something to the community to explain why there was an NDA needed? What's the scope of the project that's involved? Apparently the landowners also had to do NDAs. Why? If it's a chip factory, why is an NDA needed? We're not exchanging trade secrets. So I was moved to come tonight because of this. This is home. All of you folks live here too. We live here. You were voted into these positions to care for the town and care for the people. It is your hometown. We're losing it, and nobody seems to care. So I would just like to impress upon you that, it's not, you have the special seats. You have very important seats. These are important seats to everyone that lives here. And we need you to be more honest and transparent with what's going on. Give us the voice that we've given to you through our votes. Protect us from overdevelopment. Do we need something as massive as a chip factory? What's the impacts on that going to be? At the Great Lakes Compact, is that going to be brought into play? The Sunshine Law, that's another thing with the NDA. And I've only started digging into some of these things, so I'm certainly not well-versed in it. But it seems like the Sunshine Law in particular is being disregarded here. So I'm going to do some more work on that myself, and I would please ask that you make sure that you're versed with any laws for being transparent in what you do. And please, please keep us in mind. We all live here. Thank you.
Other public comments or appearances?
Peace be with all of you. My name is Micah Darkfire. I'm a 19-year resident of Port Washington, Zaki County. And I'm not going to mince words here. I'm just going to echo what many people are feeling, and a couple have already said. Someone once told me that without trust, a relationship cannot continue. It would seem that a lot of you keep failing in that regard. How are we, the people of Port Washington, supposed to continue with you if you can't continue to do something as simple as be honest? And on that term of honesty, it's quite telling when one of our aldermen gets stripped of his responsibilities and we have to find out about it secondhand. Better is expected of you as leaders. It is sacrifice that you give. You are giving your position out of trust. And if we cannot trust you, even if the littlest bit, then how are we supposed to continue with you if you can't do something that simple, yet that important? There is really no excuse at all out of any of you. So I will keep it short by saying, do better. Because if you haven't read the temperature of the room that is our country right now, you really have no leeway to carry yourselves as you have. In fact, you are out of room. Do keep that in mind. Thank you.
Other public comments and appearances?
Erica Roller, 948 Fairview Drive. I just would like to know why John was removed of his duties, like from all the council members, and like when are we going to find that out? If we're ever going to find it out, what's the reasoning? And then I also thought about, okay, if John's going to rerun and be our alderman again, if no one else is going to run, are you going to appoint him to any committees, or how does that all work? I guess I should do more research on myself to find out how that'll work, but I just think it was really kind of weak that we found out through the press and that someone didn't tell us. That's really all I had to say.
Mr. Fallons.
Rick Fallons, 4237 Highland Drive, Town of Port Washington. Has the city received the site plan for the commercial development of the property north of Port? Because we'd like to know if our tree farm is going to be affected, and we've been planting Christmas trees for the last 5 years. We don't know if we're going to lose them or not. So we'd like to see the site plan when you get it. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Other public comments and appearances?
Yes, hi. My name is Nicole Lado. I'm a new resident to Port Washington on North Grant Street. Just moved in March, so happy to be here. I would, like to echo, I definitely agree with a lot of the statements about the NDAs and the procedure. So Melissa mentioned that, there's standard operating procedures that are going to be created. I personally looked for any rules of engagement or operating procedures for the Common Council. I couldn't find them. That could be on me. But just to go forward with what is the process for this situation, and I'd like to echo what was said about moving forward. If an alderman is stripped of these committee assignments, what do we do about that? Because yes, they still have a voting member, but what is the process for this? And I think that a lot of people would like to know that and know what rules of procedure is this Common Council operating under. So just moving forward, I'd like to see what's gonna happen. So we have something that's happened, and now we need to move forward and figure out what's gonna happen and how we can respond to that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I've been here a number of times. My name's Ann Lorge. My address is 1479 Garai Lane. And I would like to start off by saying thank you in some ways to all of you who are sitting up there. You spend a lot of time trying to figure out what's good for the city. I think we basically understand that, but we would like to see you push a little further and push a little further on behalf of the people who have voted you into positions. Having said that, I also think that during the regular meetings, more people from the community should be sitting in these chairs and should be watching at home. It's very interesting. And you can also go back and pull up previous meetings in case somebody told you something and you're not sure if that's true. Go check it out. Might take you a little while, but hey, sometimes it's worth it. The last thing I would like to say is I've been very disappointed in the fact that the people of the 7th Ward are basically being treated like, shall we say, second-class citizens. We do not have the representation anymore on different committees, commissions, and boards, and that's disapproving in some ways and very disappointing. And if it's a personality clash, come on, let's get over it. We're all adults. Everybody, millions of people have personality clashes at work and during doing voluntary work for different communities. Let's move on. If it's something that's political, well, then I got some whole new bunch of questions, because not every committee, commission, and board should agree 100% with everyone who sits on the council for the city of Port Washington. So once again, thank you for your service. I know you do a lot. I know you go to a lot of meetings, but we would really like to see some answers out there that we don't have to dig into 6 months worth of meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Other public comments and appearances?
My name's Caitlin Selmo. I live on Jefferson Street. I just have one question. What are you teaching the youth in the future of Port Washington?
Thank you, Caitlin. Other public comments or appearances?
Good evening. My name is Dennis Evans. I live on North Webster Street, 937 North Webster Street. And I'm kind of a little upset of how I heard John was relieved. Hell, you know, it's like you hear it through the grapevine and everything else, you know. We just recently had a block party, and there was everybody likes John, you know, so it's like, what's the deal here, you know? I know the mayor has the right to appoint people for committees, but he doesn't have the right to take them off, from my understanding. In ordinance 5, what is it? Excuse me. I think it's 70-5 or 5-70. I'm sorry I don't have that with me. I did, but it's not on my phone. I should have wrote it down. I apologize. So with this in mind, I know it sounds dumb, but I don't care. So with that in mind, you know, it's like, yeah, we're wondering over in North Webster Street, what the hell's going on? You know, why weren't we notified? Other than Facebook or the press, you know, it's like we're hearing this shit through the grapevine, you know. If you could be upfront of the real reason, and let us know. And I know you could probably hold meetings in closed doors of sensitive items and stuff like that. But you know, yeah, that's a sensitive item. It's a sensitive item to Ward 7. We'd like to know. So if you could just be so kind to let us know, we would appreciate it. So.
Thank you, sir. Other public comments and appearances?
Hi, John Selmo. I live on Jefferson Street. Proud father. You know, I'd like to just mirror what everybody's saying here. It's really confusing when you live in a town, you appoint people to represent you, and things are done behind closed doors. Things are done apparently underhandedly. You know, it's really odd to find news on Facebook and to hear it secondhand instead of from the people that we put in place to represent us. So I'd just like to mirror what everybody else is saying. Do better, guys.
Other public comments and appearances?
Joe DiLucia, also from North Webster Street, 902 North Webster Street. I'd like to also mirror, or echo, sorry, some of the things that were said regarding the situation with John. Also, I'd like just to say that if you allow this to happen to one of you, you should all be afraid that it's going to happen to each one of you. You should stand up and not let this happen. As some of the 7th Ward members had said, we don't feel represented here. So he was stripped from these committees, and he should not have been stripped without authorization. Thank you.
Other public comments and appearances? Other public comments and appearances? Other public comments and appearances?
One question. I know you can't respond as the council or anything, but there are a lot of questions here, and I personally, I haven't been to one of these meetings before. So how and you probably can't answer this either, but how is this going to be addressed? You know, how are you going to answer the questions? Is it going to be through a statement or through the meeting notes? I'd like to know, and, you know, just so we can look it up online later. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Not very bright people.
Hi, my name is James Reisimer Jr. I live at 214 West High Street, 2 doors down from John Sigwart. I've known John for 21 years, known John longer than 21 years, but been his neighbor for 21 years, and he's been a straight shooter the whole time. Apparently, you guys up here have been shooting from the hip. You guys didn't communicate very well to the community. None of you, from the city administrator to the mayor to the rest of the aldermen. I'm glad and proud that I have John as my alderman, because for the rest of you, I'm glad that you're in a different ward and represent other people, because none of you seem to have supported John. Why did it take months for this to come out? And we're talking about it tonight. As far as the city administrator, this should have been handled right off the bat, put to a close. We shouldn't be waiting months and months to go through this stuff. Communication is a big deal here. And you let the community down, along with John Sigwart. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate it, and we appreciate your comments, and we will continue to move forward.
Okay, well, I didn't hear anything that was really.
I just want answers.
I don't think so. Is there anyone on the line who'd like to make public comments?
Yes. Oh, wait. Oh, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. And please state your name and address, please.
No.
No comment.
Sorry, no comment.
Okay. All right, then we're going to move into our standing agenda then from board, city commissions, and planning commission. The first agenda item is consideration and possible action on a final plat for the Hidden Hills North Subdivision located north of Astor Street, south of Green Bay Road, and east of Indigo Drive. It's Belinsky Homes is the applicant. The issue is, should the city common council approve the proposed condominium plat for the Hidden Hills North Subdivision, and the staff recommends approval. Bob.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is part of the Hidden Hills North subdivision. This was a preliminary plat that was approved, I think the final preliminary plat was approved back in 2021. And this is the condominium plat where the Hidden North Hills subdivision will contain 7 two-family condominium units on a condominium court off of Sweetwater. And it, as a condo plat, needs a specific approval by both Plan Commission and Oh, I'm sorry, I heard condo plat, so I went to that one. On a related note, on a related note, this is the final plat for the Hidden Hills North Subdivision. Similarly, this was a preliminary plat that was approved back in 2021. It is 31 single-family lots, an additional lot for the aforementioned condominium court, and then one other lot for a larger lot, single-family unit. This was approved in 21, and the final plat is the final stage for this subdivision, and it conforms both to the preliminary plat that was approved 3 years ago already, and the existing comprehensive plan that's been in place. The zoning's been in place for some time. This was reviewed by the Plan Commission, and they recommended the council approve it unanimously.
Chairing that committee, it was reviewed thoroughly with good pieces added and discussed. So any questions from council on the final plat for Hidden Hills? Mr. Plaitner.
Just questions about sidewalks, parking on Sweetwater and Clover Lane. I can't recall how that conversation was, but is there no parking on the west side of Sweetwater? Can you just offer some clarification, Bob?
Sure. I mean, the final plat, is mainly for finalizing the street and lot layout. I don't know if we've covered that both at, Traffic and Safety or Board of Public Works. No, I think just right now, this is just approving the lot and street layout.
So when would we plan on having a discussion of traffic safety or BPW?
It would start with traffic safety.
Next meeting is?
End of January.
End of January? Okay.
Yeah.
We'd have that discussion then on that agenda, perhaps? Sure. Pending approval tonight, of course. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Anyone willing to make a motion?
I will move to approve.
Motion, is there a second? Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now, Bob, I apologize. Consideration and possible action on a condominium plat for the Hidden Hills North Subdivision located north of Astor Street, south of Green Bay Road, and east of Indigo Drive. Belinsky Homes Incorporated is the applicant. This has been reviewed at planning, and staff recommends approval. Bob.
Well, I'll cover some same ground. This is part of the same subdivision, Hidden Hills North, and this is a seven two-family condominium units that are off of a Sweetwater Court, off of Sweetwater Boulevard. And as a condominium, it requires a condominium plat, and all plats require council approval at the end. And again, similarly to the final plat as a whole, this was recommended by Plan Commission, and it is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, and I recommend approval.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Plaitner, you feel like going two in a row there?
I will move to approve staff recommendation.
Mr. Newmeyer?
Seconded.
Oh, seconded by Mr. Sigwart. All right, any questions or concerns? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that moves us into the next agenda item. Consideration and possible action on Resolution 2024-11, adopting public participation procedures for amending the comprehensive plan for the city of Port Washington. The subject or the issue is the Common Council is being asked to adopt a standardized public participation plan outlining the required steps to follow when amending the city's comprehensive plan. The staff is recommending approval. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So a little background. Comprehensive planning law that was put into place in 1999, it requires that whenever a comprehensive plan is adopted as a whole, in part, or amended, there has to be an approved and a defined public participation plan in place. And what a public participation plan is kind of just that. It just codifies or outlines the steps the public outreach steps or the public steps to take when going through a comprehensive planning process, being in whole or part, or even amending when there's a zoning change. And in the end, a comprehensive plan and a zoning map have to reconcile. So if a large enough parcel goes from residential to commercial zoning-wise, in the end, the comprehensive plan, the future comprehensive land use plan should reflect that. In 2019, when we undertook the last major update to the comprehensive plan, this council did adopt a public participation plan, but it was really, I crafted it towards a major update to that comprehensive plan. What we want to do now is kind of amend as we go, take an amend as we go model. So we are reconciling zoning with land use as we go, rather than doing it periodically, which some communities do as well. So I kind of like the neater version of amend as you go. If when is needed, we have a codified and state-approved process in place, and that's what this is here. So a resolution is required, and the resolution is essentially saying that this public participation plan, following state statutes, is what the city will undertake whenever there's an amendment to a comp plan. We're pretty good with zoning and land use mapping. There's just some smaller parcels that would need to be updated, but for the most part, we are pretty much in sync. But with the upcoming zoning rewrite, it's a good chance to put in kind of this up to date, keep it current, amend as you go model in place, and that's what you have before you. And the resolution just requires council approval.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions or concerns on the recommendation, which keeps us in alignment with our current practices, keeps us moving forward? Anyone willing to make a motion to accept the resolution?
Also move.
Moved by Alderman Tierney. Any second? Is there a second? Second by Alderman Newmeyer. Any questions or concerns on this? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. That brings us to our last agenda item for the evening under new business, consideration and possible action on the satisfaction of a mortgage determination release of assignment of rents to Waterview Properties LLC from a 2008 revolving loan fund for the city in the sum of $40,000. The issue is, should the Common Council approve the execution and delivery of a satisfaction of mortgage and termination release of assignment of rents to Waterview Properties to release the city's mortgage lien on the property at 201 North Franklin Street, arising from a $40,000 RLF loan made in 2008. The recommendation from the city attorney is that the council approve execution and delivery of the proposed satisfaction of mortgage, since, according to Kathleen Schilling of Ozaki Economic Development and the city treasurer, this loan has been paid in full. Mr. Eberhardt.
Thanks, Mayor. As stated in my memo, the loan paid in full, and Wisconsin law requires, therefore, that this body sign and record a satisfaction of that mortgage against that property. I prepared that document and presented that to the city clerk. So if upon your approval, that'll be signed tonight and recorded this week. I'm told that there's a companion document which isn't referenced in my memo. It's called an assignment of rents and leases. It relates to that same loan transaction, again, which has been paid in full. So that document as well needs to be terminated. I've modified the satisfaction of mortgage document to include that feature. And again, with your approval, that will be done in the ordinary course. And that's a success story for the revolving loan fund. Thank you.
Any questions or concerns? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
Move to
the release. Motion by Alderman Benning. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Gasper. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that takes us into agenda item number 11, closing out. Are there any further public comments or appearances?
Oh, okay. just kind of the overview of this evening was, I think the biggest thing is the lack of communication. And what is interesting to me is I was contacted by WTMJ4. I did not contact WTMJ4. And I'll tell you, they are still looking into the legality of the NDA that was signed, and did not want to make a comment tonight because they're not done. Their lawyers are looking into it. With that being said, as soon as I was interviewed and I put that out on Port Washington Voice, there were tons of comments. People are hungry in this city for information, and they're not going to the website because the website is not telling us what is happening. To me right now, that website is just pretty. I've been on many strategic plans before, and the missions always drive what should be happening. And one of them, I don't have the exact wording, but it's the last one on the Common Council page about being in communication with your constituents. So it's this whole thing of, do the people in Port Washington care? Yes. Did you hear tonight from some people who never have been at this meeting? Yes, you did. And so the question, and I know you can't answer it, and it's very frustrating, but what is going to happen based on this huge, there were tons of comments. And what happened too, just to be honest, is there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of things out there about more NDAs being signed. And so we as citizens are, pretty much governing ourselves. But that shouldn't be happening because we elected you to do that. And we're glad to work with you, but it feels like you're working against us.
My name is Denver Smith. I reside on Benjamin Street. I didn't want to come up here, but we hear a lot of the back and forth of what should be and shouldn't be. And we're so quick to use an acronym for something, NDA, non-disclosure agreement. I want to present to you another acronym, WTF. And in this case, WTF doesn't mean what everybody thinks it is. It's just, where's the fairness? Where's our rights? We're the citizens that pay the taxes, that elect you. Let's get on board and be on the same page. That's all we're asking for.
Thank you. Other public comments and appearances? All right. Rick, you going to close this out?
I will, Mr. Mayor, if there are no further public
There are
comments,
not.
I'll offer a few of my own. And unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, I would ask that the council indulge me and consider either waiving or relaxing the 3-minute rule on public comments.
You can have all of ours.
But I'll speak quickly in any event. In his popular 2014 country song entitled Talladega, Eric Church sings the following verse. Like a storm, time rolls on. You can't hit pause, and that's just the deal. Most days in life don't stand out, but life's about those days that will. Like today, my retirement as city attorney. My sincere thanks to Mayor Mark Gottlieb, who appointed me city attorney more than 25 years ago, and to Mayors Dean, Huebner, Becker, and Knightsky, who reappointed me along the way. Tip of the cap as well to city administrators Mark Grams, Tony Brown, and Melissa Pingle, and the many alderpersons with whom I've had the pleasure to serve over the past quarter century. Your confidence and trust in me and my law firm to represent the city's legal interests is much appreciated and will not be forgotten. I first met some of you on a professional basis more than 40 years ago. Alderman Sigwart was an expert witness in one of my early jury trials in Sheboygan County, where my client prevailed. And we won. Thank you, John. I appreciate that, even all these years later. A couple of years after that, I represented the city of Mequon in a labor arbitration case against a few of its police officers, including Paul Newmeyer. And in that case, I'm sorry to say, truth and justice did not prevail. Paul Newmeyer and his cohorts did, and that was the right result. Thank you, Paul, as well. Thank you. I appreciate the many opportunities I've had here to grow in my legal career and be a part of this great core team that the city staff represents. Special thanks to Susan and to Rob for tolerating me over all these many years. I'll miss our daily interactions and how we achieve successes and survive setbacks together. I've learned a lot from both of you. You guys rock, and I'll never forget our shared experience. Serving the public at any level of government is a tough gig. Tonight would be an example. Local government can be particularly challenging and takes no small amount of courage. The work ethic of elected and appointed city officials, staff, and employees that I've had the pleasure of working with all these years has been impressive, very impressive. And I've witnessed their dedication to the greater good. The coming days will be exciting for the city of Port Washington and city government as new opportunities are all around. I am confident as I leave office that thanks to you, all of you, the city is well positioned for the future, and I look forward to hearing updates about your many stellar achievements. My wife, my dear wife, Lori, who's here tonight, excuse me, and I are ready and excited to start the next stage of our lives, wherever that may lead us. You know, when we got married, Lori said, "Rick, you're the husband, the boss, the head of the family. You alone will have the final word on all major decisions with no interference from me."
Objection. On behalf of Lori.
And 47 years later, I'm still waiting for her to notify me of our first major decision. And about getting older, well, I'm 67. One of my very favorite heroes, Winston Churchill, was named Prime Minister of England for the first time at age 65 in 1940 and served for 5 years. He became Prime Minister the second time in 1951 at age 76 and served 4 more years. Now, I'm not comparing myself to the great Sir Winston Churchill, but if I were, I would point out that he never served as Port Washington City Attorney. So thanks again to all of you for making this particular day stand out for me. I wish you all good things in the future, and I will miss you, and I will miss this.
With that, then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
That is moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Merry Christmas. Go Pirates. And Rick, why don't you take us home?
You got it.
This meeting is adjourned.